Absolutely. And without further ado, we'll bring up our special guest now, the one, the only, Commander Marti Joines. Marty, long time no see. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. Welcome. Glad to be back on the show, talking a little football, Washington Commanders and New York Football Giants. Should be a good one this weekend.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time tonight. We really do appreciate it. We miss having you on, but Giants Commanders this weekend. Let's get right into it, Marty. Taylor Heinicke. It seems like every time this guy gets in there and starts, this team turns around. How has he helped them turn it around, and what is it about this guy? Because this isn't the first time it's happened, so clearly it's not, a coincidence.
No, I mean, you go back to when he first jumped into that playoff game, you could tell he had some sort of spark. And taking over for Ryan Fitzpatrick last year, again, thrusted into the job, had some sparks, some ups and downs. He did have a 4-game winning streak um, in 2021. So now going into this season, again, Carson Wentz's job, he gets thrusted in there and he's got the spark. I think one of the big things that he's helped us during this winning streak is time of possession. He's been able to hit checkdowns. We've been running the ball really well, getting into a lot of third and shorts. And by doing so, easy checks, easy slants to Terry McLaurin. He does, the offensive coordinator has been giving a game plan that he doesn't have to think too much, which if we get Taylor thinking too much, that could be disastrous for us. So it's a game plan simple, hand the ball off, third and short, find the open guy, let's keep the chains moving. We always want to end every possession in a kick. Extra point, field goal, or punt, and we'll be okay.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. So we got to talk about another big guy on your defense, Chase Young. It's looking like he might be playing on Sunday. How excited are you to be getting him back? And I guess that jersey probably answers your question.
Yeah, no, we're super excited here. Commander Nation is definitely excited to get him back onto the field. I'm cautiously excited, of course. Tearing his ACL week 10 last year. It's just past a year. He's a big dude, 6'4", 265 pounds, freak athlete. So we want to make sure that he's here for the long run. I'd like to see him actually get eased into it. I've heard different reports on if he's going to play or not this weekend. I hope to see him out there, but more importantly, maybe, again, 10 to 15 snaps, third down, third and longs especially. Get him in there, one job. Let's get after the quarterback. Let's not worry about covering running backs out of the flat or stunts or anything. I just want straight on one-on-one football and just get his legs under him. And hopefully after the bye, playing you guys again, we go down the final stretch with him, getting his legs and getting after the quarterback.
Yeah, I think having him is a huge lift defensively, but he joins a really, really good defensive line. Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat, all with 6+ sacks, which is very concerning to me as a Giants fan. What challenges do those guys present to opposing O linemen?
I think first and foremost is their length. We saw it last week. Game-winning interception was caused by Daron Payne sticking his hand up, and that's something that goes unnoticed is batted balls. In the middle, Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, uh, very effective at that. And then on the edge with Montez Sweat, 6'6", can bend like a piece of paper, and he gets after the quarterback. So I think that's one thing that gets overlooked is their length. They just get after it in that sense. Also, their speed, of course. Montez Sweat, 4.5 guy. And most importantly, I think what gives folks trouble is their motor. These guys from Alabama, I mean, they come from the Nick Saban. They don't quit. There's no snaps off. It doesn't matter if it's 1st and 10, 4th and 1. You're getting the same player every single snap, every single possession, and it's been great to see.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think my next question would be, we got to talk about the NFC East because it's funny. 2 years ago, it was considered the NFC least. Remember that?
Certainly, yeah. We won the division at 7-9. That's when Taylor Heinicke got thrown into the playoffs. And yeah, it's always been an up and down division, right? We've seen us usually in the last few years be the butt of all jokes, but it's nice to see everybody succeed. I think what Tom was alluding to earlier, some of the scheduling. Now we're going to start beating up on each other, so we might see some records go down, some records go up, but it'll be exciting to see down the stretch.
So my first question with regards to the NFC East is, out of all the teams in your division being above 500, who are you the most surprised with?
I think preseason, of course. Preseason, I would have to say you guys and the Giants. Rebuild year, brand new coach. Didn't know about Daniel Jones or not, but it seems that you guys are running an effective offense. Defense is playing well and jumping off to a hot start. I think you guys really kicked it off when you beat the Green Bay Packers in London. I think that kind of put that, hey, what are the Giants doing up there? And just continually building on that. Mid-season, I'll say us starting 1-4. I mean, I would have never assumed to be in this position. So it's, again, exciting. Taylor Heinicke is a big part of this, and it'll be good to see him on Sunday go after each other.
Yeah, definitely. And I think my follow-up question with regards to this is, do you see it as a possibility that all 4 NFC East teams go to the playoffs?
I'd like to say yes. I'd like to make everybody happy on the show tonight because we can figure that the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys are going to make it. But unfortunately, just due to the scheduling, with us playing you twice, you guys still have to play the Eagles twice, I believe. And we have the Cowboys one more time. If we are able, the Commanders, to sweep, we have the Giants this week, a bye, and the Giants next week. This is crucial for our season. If we were able to sweep you guys, we would have a 96% chance to make the playoffs. If we split, we would have a 66% chance to make the playoffs. And if you guys sweep us, we would have a 12%. So I would assume, with our records being very, very similar, that you would be on the same end of those percentages. So mathematics tells me that unless we split and we both win some games here and there down the stretch, I think one of our teams is unfortunately going to be out.
Yeah, I don't really know that that's very realistic. And I think the reason for that is simply this basic math. But without a doubt, and not to mention, I think the Seahawks very well ultimately could have like a say with regards to the tiebreaker of one of the two.
Certainly.
Like, let me just knock on wood once again, because I know it's
again, I'd love to see it. You know, again, talking about 2 years ago, we hosted a playoff game at 7-9, but to have all 4 of us in there, that'd be an exciting wild card weekend with a bunch of us probably, definitely playing somebody out of our division. So a case for maybe even 3 of us moving into the Final Four there too would be awesome for the NFC East.
Yeah, it's something about the East teams with doing really well too, because if you look at the AFC, that's the same thing.
Yeah,
the Patriots, I think, are in last place at 6-5.
Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't want to play them. No, so it's exciting to be on this side. It's exciting to be in December. I know we talked, or listening before jumping on, talking about that Week 18 matchup last year. It's exciting to be in December and have both of these teams fight for something. It's always good to have the NFC East in the spotlight.
Yeah, and I like all your points there on the playoffs. Now, switching gears here towards this Sunday's game, we've talked about some of the key players thus far, but who is one under-the-radar player on the Commanders who you think will have an impact in Sunday's matchup?
Yeah, so you kind of hit them in the pregame there, talking about this game, Tom. It's Derek Forrester, free safety for the Washington Commanders. He's been a ball hawk in the secondary. He's definitely helped solidify some of those back-end communication issues we had previous this year. Defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio has made some switches around there. We typically play with 3 safeties. Bobby McCain, Cameron Curl, and Derek Forrester continuously. And it's been a great adjustment. And if I go back to last year, week 2, we beat the New York Giants 30-29 because of a penalty on the defensive tackle jumping on the field goal. But if we go back even a little bit earlier in that game, Darius Slayton broke through a broken coverage, and I don't know if Daniel Jones overthrew him or he dropped it. You guys might be able to clarify that one for me. But I remember that touchdown would have solidified a win for the New York Giants for that game before that penalty even occurred. So hopefully this safety can come in, step up, play some ball hawk safety, because it seems like the Giants always get a good big 1 or 2 plays off of us from broken coverage. So I'm hoping that he can step up and kind of solidify that.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I just remember fans online raving about it. I do think it was a drop pass.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
I believe so too. And I like Darius Slayton, even in that game. 5 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown, and he had that drop, which was a 50-plus yard play there. So for you gamblers out there, I do like Darius Slayton to score a touchdown this weekend. He seems to play very well against us. And, again, the Giants are always good for a bomb play or two against the Commanders.
Yeah, I know I think he was dealing with an illness today. I'm not sure if he practiced today. Let me check the injury report here. It says Slayton missed practice today with an illness, but there's been some flu or whatnot going around up here. Some like common cold, sinus infection that's been going around. A lot of players on all NFL teams have been getting it, but I'm sure Slayton will be a go on Sunday. Yeah, he's a solid player. I never thought through 12 weeks he'd be the team's leading receiver, which is incredible to say.
Yeah, no, you guys are definitely missing. I caught the piece with you both talking about OBJ. Definitely missing Sterling Shepard on that team. He was a pretty big piece there, and hopefully he can get back healthy, because it seems to whenever he gets his rhythm, something always happens injury related for him. And hopefully he can get back on track.
Yeah. So my next question is: you went from 1-4 to 7-5. Has Ron Rivera saved his job for next season, or is it soon? Is it too soon to tell? And I know there's a lot of external stuff going on right now, which I'm not going to get into with Washington, but Ron Rivera himself and coaching this football team, I mean, there seems to be a lot of promise there. Do you think
Certainly
he should be the guy?
Yeah, he's in his 3rd year, and if you look at his track record in Carolina, his 3rd year he was 15-1 and made the Super Bowl. We had that similar trajectory. I mean, of course, we're not 15-1, and I don't believe anybody's knocking on the door and calling us Super Bowl contenders. But you can see that progression on the roster changing, finally getting his guys in there. I believe that he should be able to be the head coach here in Washington. I think they're building something great. Like you said, there's external factors there, potentially new ownership in Washington come this spring. And if that happens, all bets are off. But if we're looking strictly on production on the football field, regardless who's in the skybox, I do believe that Ron Rivera deserves to keep this team and keep this rebuild going and look to see what he can do in year 4.
Yeah, for sure. And so would you agree that Ron Rivera has definitely secured his job?
Yeah, I would say that he secured it. Again, that 1-4 start is pretty rocky, and his tenure here so far in the first 3 years, the beginning of the seasons have been just brutal, which has really put the pressure on the back end. But again, we're back here to 7-5. We were on the 1-yard line against the Tennessee Titans and threw an interception to score and win that game, and we had a 10-point lead against the Minnesota Vikings with 6 minutes left in that game and end up losing that one. So you could make a real case for us that we could be sitting at 9 wins if the ball bounces our way. I just think it's all because of Ron and what he's doing in that locker room.
Yeah, it's definitely great to see, and you guys are getting healthier too now. You get Jahan Dotson back, I believe, and then Curtis Samuel is another weapon that scares me. That plethora, those 3 receivers, and then De'Ami Brown as well. Logan Thomas is still a factor in the red zone. Man, man, like there's a lot of players that concern me because obviously we know a key for me in this game at least is getting pressure on Heinicke because the Giants do a good job of getting pressure, but they can't seem to get sacks. And now with Azeez Ojulari returning, I'm interested to see if it helps Kayvon Thibodeau out because you were mentioning before dumping off passes, slants to McLaurin. Antonio Gibson has 40 catches on the season. Incredible pass catching back. I'm really excited. Thibodeau and Ojulari against Charles Leno. And who's your right tackle again? It's not Cosme, right?
Cosme has been jumping in there. He was hurt with he had a fractured finger, but it has been Cornelius Lucas, who's been playing really well for us. But I believe going into Sunday, we've got some issues at right guard with Ty Turner out. So the talk has been kicking Cosme in at guard and starting Cornelius Lucas for the entirety at right tackle. So it'll be his first game in the last 3. They've actually been playing this weird alternate right tackle where they don't only switch series, but it seems like they switch possessions and plays. Certain ones come in for certain sets. So it'll be interesting to see him at an entire game against the defensive line that you guys are boasting.
That sounds like us last year, Hank.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what's one key for you in this game? Because it seems like in the past, and Marty, this is no knock at Washington whatsoever, but it seems like in years past decade or two, whenever the Giants have been struggling, Washington always seems to be the get right game. Up until last season, that is when you guys swept us, obviously. But Hank, what's the key for the Giants here? Because I'm trying to wrap this all together, and Washington is obviously, we know we're on a similar talent level. I would argue Washington more.
I would say,
but you talk to me. What are you thinking?
I would definitely say one key to this game will definitely be, now I wouldn't say stopping, but containing Terry McLaurin. And that's going to be pretty difficult because as we mentioned, the Giants secondary is also pretty thin with regards to depth. And I think basically when it comes to stopping him, it's simply this. You got to know where he is at all times. You got to limit the big plays. And, Terry McLaurin's had a lot of those plays, but I think one guy who's definitely capable of stopping him would have to be the guy who's been very versatile in our secondary. That's Julian Love. But yeah, I would say definitely containing him because, again, I don't think the Giants have the personnel, at least in terms of being healthy, where I can really say they'll stop him. That's not going to happen, but at least containing him.
And with the Taylor Heinicke at the helm, that's something that has definitely helped Terry McLaurin. With Carson Wentz in the starting lineup, Terry only averaged about 3 to 5 targets a game, and now he's sitting about 8.5 to 9 targets a game, and that's only been going up. So it's been great to see our playmakers. And again, Hank, that would definitely be a key for the Giants because we know watching he's going to get targets.
Mm-hmm.
Marty, what's your key for the Commanders in order to win this game? And what you would say is one thing they absolutely have to do to beat Big Blue?
I'll just say out here, Daniel Jones looks like Joe Montana against the Commanders most of the time. He has a great record against them. Some call him the White Mike Vick. He's gotten all kinds of nicknames on the chatter boxes down here in D.C. He has played great against us. I don't know why. I guess he just likes to beat up on us. But one key for us would definitely have to be to limit the big play. He always seems to find a wide receiver sneaking through the slot area and just beating a busted coverage. So if we can limit that, stop that. I mean, just if we could just not let them have their big play. I think both of our teams have similar styles in what they want to do. We want to ground and pound. We want to make this game short. We want to see if we can get a couple turnovers, and we want to see if we can get a couple big plays. And if we can limit the big play, I think we'd have a chance to win this game.
Definitely. I was thinking Jones on his legs, too, is dangerous, as you know very well. We remember the ultimate Chase Young game that we had a few
Yes.
years back.
Yes, that was it. That was again another time where these football teams were playing in December and fighting for draft position. So it's just great to jump on tonight and actually talk about playoff football. Talk about two teams that deserve to be there, two fan bases that deserve to be there, and just ready for Sunday at 1:00 and watching these two teams hit each other.
Yeah, I do agree, and I think for us, I guess my key is establishing a run, because over the past 2 weeks, there's been no running game established, and that's why the Giants have lost both of those games. The Giants, throughout the entirety of the season, have the sixth best rushing attack in the NFL, but the duo that Washington has, Marty, I like to call them the Bama boys, and Allen and Payne. Combined for 13 sacks and 25 tackles for loss. This is at the defensive tackle position.
Yeah.
Combined for 13 sacks.
They get after it. They get after it in the run game. They get after it in the pass game. One thing that Atlanta exposed a little bit that I think that we'll see the Giants do, and if Brian Daboll, if you're listening, you can turn it off right now. The Atlanta Falcons were actually triple teaming. What they would do is they'd bring two blocking tight ends. They have two really good blocking tight ends, and they would take three interior linemen and block Jonathan Allen. They'd take the other two on the left-hand side and block Deron Payne, and they would take tackles against the defensive ends. Our linebacker play has been sub-bar. Jamin Davis has been coming on a little bit, but for the most part, they've been lackluster to say the least. And teams, the Atlanta Falcons especially, they averaged over 7 yards a carry against us for that game. And I think they just basically said our running backs are better than your linebackers. We'll beat you to the spot. And I think I could see a similar game plan for the Giants with Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs in the league. I think they'd love to take Saquon Barkley versus our linebackers one-on-one all day long in the second level and see who can win.
And Hank, I want to ask you this to build off Marty's point.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's not just Barkley against them. It's Barkley and Jones. Do you agree with that, or –
Oh, I completely agree with that. I think Washington's, edge rushers are going to be a very tough obstacle for the Giants in this game. And, I think really we're going to see how much reinforcements we get back with this offensive line. I would hope that the return of Evan Neal can definitely help in that department because, look, we talked about our concern with Saquon Barkley and him possibly dealing with the effects of the shoulder. But again, I think you also have to factor in that the offensive line hasn't exactly been of the best help with regards to Saquon Barkley. So in other words, Tom, it can be both.
It can be both. I mean, Saquon has those 7 touchdowns, just 8 yards away from 1,000 yards. I never thought I'd be saying that 12 games in this year. I'm happy I can. That interior line concerns me. I mean, hell, Jack Anderson started on Thanksgiving. That's how poor we've been in depth. So if John Feliciano can come back, you can slide Nick Gates out to left guard, who allowed just one pressure this past week. And I think those two can potentially do a decent job in there with Mark Lewinsky on the other end and try to fend off this Washington interior rush. But, man, when you spend 2 first-round picks on defensive tackles, I mean, they've lived up to the hype, Marty. They really have.
They definitely have, especially this year. It's taken a while for it to gel. Chase Young being out and not being a part of that gel kind of hurts as a fan that he was the second overall pick. But honestly, the way those guys have been playing, they haven't missed a beat. And again, we spent 4 consecutive first-round picks on that defensive line, 5 consecutive on the defensive side. So it's good to see some of those young guys finally filling those shoes.
Absolutely. Now, Marty, if you had to steal one player from the Giants, who would it be and why? And Hank, start thinking because I'm going to ask you the same thing for Washington in a moment.
Yeah, so this was a tough one for me. I'm a big Saquon Barkley guy. I'd love to steal him. I think he's a great talent. But again, we've got two great running back. Well, I shouldn't say we have two great. We have two solid running backs that definitely feed off of each other. So I'd probably have to go with Andrew Thomas, left tackle from the Giants. Our offensive line has been playing pretty good, but an upgrade there to PFF's third ranked left tackle. I'd love to have him on the team, give us more versatility, more depth, and I think he would solidify the left side for us moving down the line. So if you want to trade him our way, we'll gladly take him.
It's a great pick.
Mm-hmm. Especially the way he started out.
You took Bradbury. Remember that?
Yes, I did. We had a chance to get him this offseason, and of course, we just let him go, or was that previous offseason? But we had a chance to actually get him, and we let the Philadelphia Eagles have him. He's having a great season. So, maybe Andrew Thomas will be available here in a couple of years, and we'll go get him.
Who knows? And I like the pick of that because Gibson and Robinson, I think both have over 450 rushing yards apiece. Yep. So, as good as Saquon is, the two of them are fine. I think you're fine with those two. But
Yep. Yeah, no, I definitely like that pick. And then even Evan Neal coming back from injury, he'd be another guy that'd be a great piece on that offensive line for us.
Henry.
That's a great pick, and I'm glad that you said Andrew Thomas because I've been on record saying that he is arguably the most valuable player for the New York Giants, at least if we're talking about offense. But as far as my pick for guys to steal from your Washington Commanders, and I love how you still have their old name sneaking in on your jersey, by the way. I just wanted But no, my guy that I would steal, I have a few. I definitely was considering guys like Montez Sweat and Chase Young. However, I think I really am going to base this off of position of need. And so I'm going to go with Scary Terry for the obvious reason being that, who do we have at wide receiver? Kenny Golladay, Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton. No. Paper thin. I got to go with Scary Terry, and I think he would definitely be a massive upgrade.
Yeah, he's a great team leader. Started his career here as kind of that deep ball threat and has slowly progressed into all three levels. He runs slants well, drags, screens, and again, he can take the top off. So he's definitely progressed to one of the best wide receivers in the league, in the top 10, I believe, and he'd be a great fit in the blue too. I wouldn't want to see it though.
That's a good pick. I'm going to go a little different here because we also have a gaping hole at cornerback, and Washington has a solid one in Kendall Fuller. Again, you don't need a superstar cornerback, but Fuller is by far a massive upgrade over anybody we have right now. That's not including Adoree Jackson. If he was healthy, I'd probably agree with you, Hank, and go with Scary Terry. But, I mean, right now, we don't even know if Fabian Moreau is going to play. So, again, we might be looking at Nick McLeod and Cordell Flott as the starting corners on Sunday, which is concerning. And, Marty, I just want to ask you this as an outsider looking in. Have you heard of Cordell Flott or Nick McLeod?
I have not. Fabian Monroe, we drafted him out of UCLA.
That's right.
He spent some time here, and I believe he researched his career a little bit down in Atlanta before coming to you guys. So that name sounded familiar. I'm glad to see him still on the football field. But the other two, unfortunately, no, I have not heard of them. So it'll be interesting to see if Taylor Heinicke can take advantage.
Which works right into your advantage. Heinicke 5-1 as a starter this year. Let's see if he can make it 6-1 on Sunday. Let's get to our game predictions. First, we'll go over Sam's, who's not here tonight. She says after 4 straight wins, Taylor Heinicke is starting to break a bit. She has the Giants winning 24-21. So she has Washington scoring 3 touchdowns and us getting 24 points. I even think that might be a little generous as far as the scoring goes. I think it might even be lower than that. Marty, who do you got winning this one and score?
Yeah, I think I'm going a little opposite too with the scoring aspect that you just mentioned, Tom. I think you guys got some injuries on the back end. Game planning for us, everyone's going to want to stop the run, and I see for this game to try to be the Taylor Heinicke come-out game where he can maybe get 2 to 3 touchdown passes, and I think they're going to put the ball in his hands a lot. And the fan of me hopes that it goes well, and if it does, I've got the Commanders 28, Giants 22.
That's an interesting score. I like it. Well, I don't like it, but I like the outside of the box thought process there.
Yeah, I just think that teams are now going to start stacking boxes. I mean, they know that we can run the football, and again, you just mentioned you've got some injuries in the back end. I think that if Taylor can not make the big mistake, we can score 28 points. But we haven't done that all year except for twice, so we'll see if that
All right, so 1-1 so far. Hank, who do you got?
I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but I have the Commanders edging the Giants just barely, and the reason why is while I do think the reinforcements could help the Giants, I do worry that some of the injuries are going to be tough to overcome, and I think ultimately a heartbreaker happens. But yeah, it's going to be a really close game, but with the way Washington's been on a roll lately, there's a lot that scares me going into this game.
Score?
My score is going to be, I'm going to go with 25-22 Washington.
All
A
right.
weird score.
Okay, so, I mean, you both have the Giants scoring 22 points. So for me, oh gosh, I could even this up here, or I could tilt it in Washington's favor. So we've talked about all things considered. I do think that we're going to split the 2 games that we play in this year. Looking at things, the Giants have played a lot better at home than on the road. So with that being said, I'm going to take the Giants for this one by a final score of 23-20. One thing we didn't talk about as well is the 10 days rest for Big Blue to get a lot of these guys healthy. And I almost forgot to mention this. This is shame on me, but rookie tight end Daniel Bellinger with that eye injury will likely be back starting this week, which I think is a huge boost for the Giants offense. But I could easily see the Commanders having a fourth quarter lead and Daniel Jones gets his 6th fourth quarter comeback win of the season. Not to go too far ahead, though, but I think the bye week in week 14, Marty, will suit you guys quite well to come back in week 15 and potentially split that one up against us.
Yeah, I've got a splitting too. I actually think if there was a bye week you wouldn't want, it would be when you're on a hot roll. So I think that we'll continue this roll. Bye week maybe stales us up a bit. You guys could get us the following week, and that's how I'm seeing it. Again, I don't ever hate a bye week, but man, I wish I would have had it in a different week because we're really playing some good football.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Week 14 is somewhat late to have a bye week, all things considered there. But Marty, any final thoughts here before we let you go? Appreciate you hopping on as always.
Yeah, again, appreciate the time. It'll be fun. Again, like we've been talking about all night, this is a great rivalry, 2 great teams, 2 great histories going at it, and this will be the first time you guys get to suit up against the Commanders. And one last final thought is go O's.
That's right. Giants are wearing the classic uniform Sunday, right, Hank?
Yes, they are. That's why I'm rocking my classic blue Strahan jersey.
Awesome. And Marty, thank you again so much, and we will talk to you very soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Marty.